We all know about Undertale, the funny skeleton game where you talk to vegetables. But did you know that Undertale is not its creator's first game? Did you know that Toby Fox, the father of Sans, has worked on things prior to Undertale? Yeah, you probably did. Before composing the soundtrack to Undertale, Toby worked on the sound team for the popular webcomic Homestuck. But before that, Toby created a couple of hacks for Earthbound / Mother 2 / that game with Ness in it, under the name Radiation. He chose this name because he aimed to make hacks that were atomically cool. Radiation made 2 hacks in total, but the one we're going to look at today is definitely his most famous, Earthbound, the Spooktastic Halloween Hack. Okay, it's just called the Halloween Hack. I added the Spooktastic part. Let me just remove it. Wait, why is there a 5th layer? Oh shit, okay, I'll put it back. With Halloween being just around the corner, what better time to cover a game full of ghouls, zombies, zombie dogs, scary robots, and messed up tree tiles? Will it be as good as Undertale? I don't know. As of writing this part of the script, I haven't beaten the game yet, so I can't really say. I'm gonna guess probably not. It was made almost a decade ago. Well, that's all from the pre-beating the Halloween hack version of myself. See ya! And to the future version of myself reading this, fuck you. Now, this game is an unofficial sequel to Earthbound, so if you want to play it, you gotta play Earthbound. The story takes place in an alternate reality where Ness and his friends are unable to return to the present after defeating Gygus. Things are peaceful until monsters show up seemingly out of nowhere and start killing people. After a girl witnesses the murders of her parents in her own home, Mayor B.H. Perkle hires a bounty hunter named Varric, or Duke, or Assbo, to find the source of the monsters and put a stop to this terrifying turn of events. Eventually, Varric finds his way to Dr. Andinut's lab and learns that he is the one who's been making all these scary monsters. When Andinut learns that Varric plans to kill him, he uses a machine to flee to Magicant, a place created in his own mind filled with its desires and fears. You're given the option to kill Dr. Andinut while he's in the machine, but this makes the game incredibly short and is obviously not what it wants you to do. Also, if you pick that option, Varric dies too, for some reason. Somehow? But if you want to get the real ending, you press B and enter Magicant, which is actually where the better half of the game takes place. If you couldn't tell from the part where a girl watches her own mother and father get killed by monsters, this game is a bit darker than Earthbound. It almost feels like a gritty reboot of Earthbound. It has blood, it has dark humor, it even has swearing. For the most part, the dialogue is entertaining, but at times it feels like it tries way too hard to be dark and creepy.
It's making your heart pound. It's making your heart pound. Varric, just getting near the door is making your heart pound. Reality is becoming an illusion. The sea and waves are out of sync. The world's light has gone and hid. Only the dim, pulsating pain in your cold hands keeps you alive. And beyond this door is the greatest evil. The monsters you saw before were no doubt mere shadows to the one inside this metal coffin. This is it. This is the end. Varric.
That was very good, Toby. You get an A for your descriptive word choice. However, when the game isn't throwing walls of "whoa, so spooky" text at you, it has its moments of creepiness. The sewers and winters both do a good job of creating a creepy atmosphere. But aside from a few other spots later in the game, the horror aspect of this hack never really made much of an impact on me. My other gripe with the writing is the inconsistent tone. You start in Tucson, which is full of dark humor and is where the game's writing shines the brightest in my opinion. After that, the game dips in and out of creepiness, but the dark humor of Tucson never returns. I know this hack is supposed to be creepy, but if done right, you can have something that's both funny and scary. And if you start the game with humor, I think it's natural for players to assume there will be more later on. I don't have a good segue to get to talking about the music. We're gonna talk about music now. Okay? Now I can't speak for his Homestuck work, but if the soundtrack to Undertale is anything to go by, Toby Fox is pretty good at making music. So it may surprise you to hear that the music in this game is alright. I understand that adding custom music to an Earthbound ROM isn't easy, and I'm not saying the music's bad, but I didn't find most of the tracks to be super memorable. This game does feature the first incarnation of Megalovania, but besides that, the soundtrack is simply fine. What do you guys think of this video so far? But let's get to the part of the presentation deaf people can enjoy, the graphics. As you've probably seen, this game reuses a lot of assets from Earthbound, which is fine. As for the original art, it's pretty well done. The enemy and boss design, especially at the end, is creepier than a boo in a shoe. But despite statements I've made in the past, bad graphics, bad game. Simple as that. I think good graphics and music don't mean much if the gameplay isn't fun, and unfortunately for this hack, gameplay is where its biggest flaws lie. Fighting in this game works the same way it did in Earthbound. It's a pretty bare-bones interface, but is flashy enough to make doing damage satisfying and getting seriously injured gut-wrenchingly stressful. It's the enemies themselves that are the problem, not the way you fight them. The enemies in Tucson, the very start of the game, can easily KO you in just a couple of turns if you're not prepared. I'm sure the enemies in Tucson have turned away a lot of people who are looking to try this game. Having enemies this powerful at the beginning doesn't actually make the game harder, it just means the player will have to spend a lot of their time grinding so they can stand a chance, which is not very fun. When the official strategy guide is telling you to do things like, after you get around level 3, go into the sewer and keep going back up and down until there are no enemies. And this battle is based largely on luck, don't be afraid to try it a few times. It's probably a sign that the difficulty could have used some balancing. If you want to have a relatively smooth time, grind in the sewers until you're around level 10. That may sound like it takes a while, and that's because it does. So find yourself a good podcast or something and mash your way through the battles. Otherwise, this game is harder than a boo in a shoe. Besides that, there's really not much to say about the gameplay. If you liked Earthbound's battle system and don't mind the grinding, I'd say it's okay at best, frustrating at worst. If you didn't like Earthbound's gameplay and you don't really care about the story, playing this game will be like a big kick in the neck. Now I'm gonna talk about the endgame, so spoiler alert. Duh. What are you, stupid? Yes? Oh god, I'm sorry. After meandering your way through Magic Hand, you'll eventually make your way to Dr. Andonuts, who is racked with guilt over inadvertently causing the death of his son and his friends. When you fight him, he does nothing but beg you not to kill him, and this is when the game's guilt tripping begins. But obviously you're a heartless killing machine and you finish him off with ease. Except no you don't, After changing into a form that's actually less threatening than his previous one, Dr. Andonut's self-preservation instinct kicks in, and the real final fight begins. Now I really didn't have to worry about this because I was a bit over-leveled, but what you're supposed to do here is equip different pendants to protect against elemental attacks throughout the battle. Changing equipment mid-battle is a mechanic that isn't used at all in Earthbound, nor is it hinted at or required at any point in this game. Without the strategy guide, you'd likely see that the elemental pendants had much weaker stats than your current gear and ignore them like I did. How hard would it be to have one of the people in the pre-boss area say something like, "To defeat the monster, make sure you have the powers of fire and water." And also, I know it wasn't used in the original game, but you can equip different items mid-battle, and you're gonna need to do it here, SDGFA. I guess Toby had a choice when making this area. He could either put in a hint about changing equipment mid-battle, or he could make this portal work. And he chose neither. Seriously, this thing is useless. So you defeat Dr. Andonuts and he continues this weird trend of implying that Varric is actually Ness. This happens a few times throughout the game and it really doesn't make any sense. First, how would Ness make it back to the present? And if he could get back, why didn't he take the others with him? Also, Varric is an adult. We know this because he drinks beer and sleep with women. The Halloween hack takes place only a few months after Earthbound, so even if Ness did come back, he wouldn't look like this. What, did he somehow find a way to age up? Frankly, that's just ridiculous. So Dr. Andonuts dies, and the game does its best to make you feel shitty. Wow, he was just an old man, and you killed him. How could you? Did he really deserve such a horrible fate? Yes! Don't you remember the part about a girl's parents being eaten? He caused widespread chaos. He created beasts capable and willing to murder. Blood is on his hands. Anyway, the day is saved, everything's back to normal, and Varric returns home for some much-needed rest. And then a ghost runs in and farts on him. The end. As a whole, I think the Halloween hack is okay. It had its low points, the difficulty at the very beginning, the writing at times, that time I accidentally loaded over my fucking save file, but if you can stomach the grinding and are in the mood for something Halloween-y, you could do a lot worse. Thanks for watching, guys. As a little treat for making it through this video, here's this. That's, a very, very small portion of Megalovania. I'm just gonna play, like, the whole song, on this ocarina here, as a joke. It was gonna be, like, really crappy sounding, but, it sounded really annoying. Like, it was bad, but, like, it wasn't, like, even funny bad, so, you just get the little bit, you get the... So yeah, make sure you check out my other videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys.